In 2023, I just kind of reached out to people that I had worked with forever. And why I wanted to start this was because I was photographing all these great businesses and hearing their story.
Right.
And I was like, somebody needs to listen to this. Someone needs to record this.
Yeah.
Like, these stories of how people got to where they are so interesting.
Right.
Like, so many people that own a business have had like 20 other jobs prior.
Yeah.
Or just like took this really weird winding route to get to where they are. And I just thought that was so interesting.
One, two, three, four.
You're listening to Granite Goodness. We talk to problem solvers, innovators, and optimists across New Hampshire and New England. My name is Andy DeMeo. You can watch this episode on granitegoodness.com or listen on any podcast platform. Hope you enjoy it. Today we're here with Jen Backus. She is a photographer based in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, specializing in food, product, lifestyle, and brand photography. Her working clientele has ranged from local magazines, award-winning restaurants, many New England farms, and largely creative small businesses. She is also the host of the podcast Tell Talks Northeast, where she interviews other small business owners, creatives, and artists on their own journey and story of their current career path. She grew up in New Hampshire, enjoying the abundance of nature and living small-town life, then went on to art school, photography school, and internships around New England and the West Coast. When she isn't working, you can find her on woodland trails, in the garden, crafting and playing with other forms of art, traveling, reading, and enjoying time with her fiancé and their cat. Jen Backus, welcome to Granite Goodness.
Thanks for having me.
You sound like a pretty cool person.
I like to think so.
I like to think so too. I mean, we're kind of friends in real life, which is the fun conceit of these things. So this is my second kind of podcast swap-a-rooney.
Yes.
I love meeting other creatives. We were at a bonfire.
Yeah, recently.
Up in Tamworth, where I live, and you and your fiance are always checking stuff out, and
we love Tamworth.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? We ran into you, and I don't even remember how this came up. Well, I don't even remember, but it was you were just like, "Oh, I have a podcast," and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, "Whoa, it's a real podcast!
It is.
It's not like my podcast. Like she's the real deal." Yeah, it's real. You're making it real. You're helping make it real. But yeah, no, I don't know. You're just like, so I obviously want to talk about your show, but you're just like, you're fascinating. You're a creative person, and I want to dive into all of it. That like. Your career as a photographer, like how did you get into that? How did you get involved in Tell Talks and the idea of the podcast show? So like, I don't know. Let's begin though, Jen. We had that nice intro, which you helped write for me. And by help write, I mean you wrote the whole thing. Tell me about your relationship with New Hampshire.
Well, I grew up in New Hampshire, in a town called Bow. It's very small.
Bow!
Yeah. It is in between Concord and Hooksett, and it's all residential. There's no like pizza shops or markets or anything. And yeah, it was really kind of idyllic when I think back. I think when I was a teenager, I was kind of like, oh, I want to get out of here.
Yeah.
But then now I'm like, wow, that was amazing.
That was the place.
We had so much woods to play in. We made forts. We had a dead end street. So we were just running around playing capture the flag and riding our bikes, and it was perfect. And of course, growing up kind of in between internet and not, I think it was such a nice way to spend time as a kid.
Yeah.
And so in terms of growing up in New Hampshire, our parents took us hiking and camping, canoeing, kayaking, just going around to small businesses and things. And yeah, that was kind of my baseline.
Sure.
So always kind of had that in the background. And
Is Bow known for anything? Like what would people, from Bow say, this is what you gotta see?
I'd say
It maybe its charm is it's known for nothing. Like that's a completely legitimate answer, right?
I think it's known for its good school system,
Okay.
which I can attest to. But yeah, there's not a ton going on. However, that is part of its charm.
Right.
Looking back, there's a lot of woods, a lot of trails, I think one of the fun facts we always talk about is it's named Bow because of the shape of the Merrimack River that runs through.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I feel like there's every generation of bow, there's probably some archery freak who gets born and then is like,
Could be, yeah.
this is my calling, you know? Did you have an archery fit? Like, I feel like when the Hunger Games came out, this inspired an entire, not just woman, right? Like
Right.
for Katniss,
A lot of
but like,
people.
yeah, I like asked for a bow and arrow that year for my birthday, and I was like, man, it was really hard.
Yeah.
I remember it being
I
difficult.
did do a bit of archery growing up, and one of my neighbors was really into it. She was like a competitive archer, but then I did it through camps, and they had some competitions, and I feel like I did pretty well. I'd love to get back into it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I wish that this could be one of those podcasts where it's like, well, guess what's under your
Yeah, right.
seat, Jen? It's a fully functional compound bow, you know? And
That'd be sweet.
we're gonna shoot the next person who walks by. Man, okay, so like you're a photographer,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, there's so many things, but like that originally, like that's kind of your main vocation.
Yeah, that's a big piece for
right?
sure.
How did that all begin for you?
So I was really into art as a kid in general.
What kinds of arts?
My dad was really big into drawing and painting, so I got that gene per se. And so I was drawing. I carried a notebook with me all the time, just constantly doodling. A lot of it was animals and nature.
Yeah.
And took all the drawing and painting classes when I was growing up, took pottery classes, and then started to get into photography probably around middle school-ish. And part of it was because I loved looking through all my family's photo albums and boxes full of just all these duplicates. And then it was kind of like, okay, who's taking these photos now? My dad was always the one who was holding the camera. And then it kind of shifted, we all got busy. And I was like, well, maybe I should be the one documenting everything.
Right.
And so I started doing that. I had just like really basic cameras and just really enjoyed the process of like, this thing is in my head. How can I create it really quickly? And so I just started shooting all the time and took all the photography classes in school and high school. And I didn't really think of it as a job back then. Like
Right.
there was no examples besides like the school photos we would get.
Yeah.
So I didn't really see that as a path. I just kept doing art. And once I think we were getting ready to apply to colleges and everything, of course, the path was you have to do 4 years school, get a degree. And I was like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like there's something different. But I applied to art school and I was like thinking maybe I'd do graphic design. And then I went to art school and I realized that the school I went to, they weren't really fostering like here's what you do afterward.
Sure.
How do you run a business? How do you make money?
Yeah.
And they kind of said you just become a teacher or you get your stuff into a gallery, which is totally valid for a lot of people.
Right.
But I wasn't really interested in that.
It's only 2 tracks.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Right.
I was painfully shy. And I was like, I don't know that I want to be a teacher.
Right.
So during one of those classes, I had heard another student talking about a photography school. And it sounded really amazing, like 24/7 photography and learning business as well, and learning how to build a website and learning how to do taxes, things that are really important.
Right.
And I'm really happy I had that foresight because art school was going to be like over $100,000
Yeah.
in debt
Right.
versus $60,000 in debt to this
Yeah.
other school. So I was like, okay, this feels more doable, especially when it comes to the future.
Right.
And so I went to this 1-year photography school out in Western Mass. It was called Hallmark Institute of Photography, nothing to do with the cards. And it was amazing. And you were just surrounded by 100 other students, all ages, from all over the country. Some people came from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And we just learned different types of photography, like
Yeah.
wedding photography, pet photography. We had the commercial studio where we were shooting products, food, jewelry, just
Right.
all kinds of stuff. So it really gave me an idea of like what this could be
Yeah.
turned into, which
What-
was a career.
Can you give us a sense of like what year or so would that have been? Like 2015, like 20.
So
Yeah.
this was 2009 going to 2010.
Okay.
And so I graduated photo school in 2010 and just like hit the ground running from there.
Yeah. Wow. So it's an interesting like what I'm thinking about, what I'm curious about, this is just around, I'm guessing, when like smartphones with, you know, higher quality, you know, cameras and stuff start to be like more ubiquitous, right? And that must have been an interesting time, right? Because I think there's this, and you know, you're an artist and a professional, and I'm sure like you have a sophisticated opinion about it, right? But like, you know, this idea that like, oh, why do I need a trained, you know, why do I need a fancy camera? Like I have, you know, and you know, there's been different iterations of like, you know, I remember when I was a kid, you get the film developed, and that was always fun. And then, you know, everyone had digital cameras for a little while, and then like, you know, those got really good. And then now it's just people have like phones, but even in kind of a, like the digital cameras are coming back into vogue, I think. Like there's a, you know, trend of those that I've started, or even like, what are the Polaroids?
Yes,
the Polaroid, like those are cool. But like, was that part of the conversation ever? Like, hey, technology's changing all the time. You know, people have cameras in their pockets, but like, this is what it means today to be a trained photographer. Like, was that brought up, and how has that informed like your career?
Definitely,
as that tech has
was a
continued?
big thing, and around this time is when Instagram started to take off. So it was kind of a conversation of like, okay, are our careers going to be stable?
Right.
And I think most of our teachers were saying how it reminded them how they went from film to digital, which was a huge transition. And a lot of photographers just stopped after that because they were like, we can't figure this out. This is such a big jump. And I think something similar is happening now with AI.
Yeah.
But I think there's always going to be a need for people that have the experience. And yes, you can shoot so much on your iPhone. A lot of people are shooting content with their iPhones now, which is great. And it's awesome for those like in a pinch moments for so many people. But I think, I mean, I have 15 years of experience now, and I think that's invaluable.
Yeah.
I believe that it's a big deal.
No, I agree with that.
So I hope people still value that as well. And just knowing lighting, it's not always about like, you know, just show up and shoot.
Yeah.
As you know, there's so much to lighting.
Right.
What you have with your setup here. So
and I don't know
it makes a difference.
Yeah, and it doesn't come out good half the time.
Yeah. Just even with natural light, like knowing how it behaves with a certain direction of a window is like a big piece. So I think the education behind it is really important. And I'm still like, yes, we can do this. Even with AI coming in, I think there's so much opportunity for photographers, and everyone, I think, still wants the human touch.
Yeah.
So I hope that's what people will think about in the future.
I think so. I mean, that's certainly again, I'm not a professional photographer, but you know, I think seeing it as like, oh, this is an additive, right? Like again, everyone has an opinion on AI, and I don't really want to like dig into, you know, I mean, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it, like, because it's an interesting artistic question, but no, I share your view, and that like, or put it this way, the photographers and artists who I think will continue to find success and opportunity, they will find a way to continue to integrate technology, right? Like everyone has in the past.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, Jen, you know, I can share with you personally, like I've had experiences, I mean, even recently, right? Like I got laid off from my job, and so I was trying to like, okay, I need we talked about this, like when I came on your show, I sent you some picture, right? And then I got a different picture, and I was like, please use this one. So I needed some like decent looking picture of myself, and I hadn't really ever taken one. The last one was the staff photo for my job 3 years ago. And then I was like, okay, I have a Rebel T whatever, you know, like the basic camera lying around my house. I'm just going to try, and I'll set it up on a timer, right? And it's just like, I did that. And it's a high quality picture because that's what the camera did, but I only mean that in the digital sense. It wasn't like a great picture, like it kind of looked ghostly, and, you know, I don't know. I didn't think it was a great picture of myself. Like, and everyone knows when they have a great picture, it's like, oh, you really captured me, right? Compare that to, like, I did have the opportunity, luckily, recently, to get a professional picture taken for the TEDx event. And oh my God, It's complete. Like, you know, I went into this woman's studio. You probably know her, Ruth Ganev. You know, I don't know if
I do.
I don't know if you all have like a psychic, like the photographers.
Sometimes we do.
She's a nice lady. She's down in Rye. But it made all the difference, you know, of just like, whoa. And even, I mean, the technology setup was one thing, but like the personality,
Right.
And I can tell,
The experience.
I mean, yeah, weddings is another one,
Yep.
right? Like when you are working with a photographer who isn't just like, you know, and who can really bring out and they know how to get, you know, flattering pictures of
Yeah.
people. I think that's invaluable.
Right. Like it's not just about the work you're creating, but also the experience you're giving other people. And yeah, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree. And I imagine that approach has served you very well.
People say I bring a calm presence, which I appreciate.
Do you ever show up to things and it's just like not like it's just banana crazy? And you're
Yeah,
just like-
sometimes.
do you have any like crazy stories of like shoots you've done? If you don't, it's fine, but I feel compelled to ask.
I think luckily, and like knock on wood, a lot of my shoots and clients have been great. Everyone is very professional and
Right.
organized, and I love that. I don't know if I have any crazy stories of anything recent.
That's a good thing. It means you're
yeah.
prepared.
Yeah. Again, knock on wood.
Yeah.
I do have stories from when I was an assistant to other photographers. It was more so on me though. Like I was supposed to be holding up a cord for a light and it fell and dropped into the jello that we were photographing.
Oh, okay.
So that was a learning experience. Looking back, it's funny.
Did you take a picture of that, of like the thing in the jello?
I didn't. I wish someone did because it's pretty funny now. I think it'd be a great blooper.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that is learn the hard way, right? Man, so tell me about like Tell Talk. Like what's Tell Talks? Tell.
Do we want to
people.
go back to the very beginning of Tell?
Yeah, sure.
Because it has a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah, I mean, we read the intro, but you know, in
yeah.
your own words, like what is all that? How did you get
Yeah,
involved
so-
with it?
Tell, which stands for the essence of living locally.
Oh, that's cool.
For those who don't know, it was originally a digital publication that me and my friend Ashley created back in like 2012. We got together, and this was the time where, like, I think the hashtag like camp vibes was a big thing.
Sure.
So there was another magazine called Kinfolk that was really popular at the time, but they never covered New England. They hit Boston and New York City like a bit, but we were like, why not New England? There's so many great stories here. There's so many amazing farms and small businesses and makers. Why is no one covering this in a larger scale? And we were like, well, why don't we just make this magazine ourselves? And so we kind of took what they were doing, but put our own spin on it. And Ashley is a really amazing like designer. She was an art director. She does incredible layout and graphics. And we both do photography. So putting our skills together and then reaching out to our community, we created this quarterly digital publication.
Yeah.
And so we told stories about all our favorite makers and artists. And then eventually it became a like submission based sort of thing. So we'd get stuff from all our followers, stories, photography, a lot of great artwork, Instagram posts, and we would just create the magazine that way. And it was really fun. We met so many people. I think it helped grow my business.
Right.
And make like invaluable connections. There's still people I know and talk to from the early days.
Yeah.
And then life got busy. We had another team member, Mandy, and Ashley and Mandy had both like gotten married, gotten houses. They're a little bit older than me, so they were going
dare
through,
they.
you know, that time in their life, which
Yeah.
is great. And so we all had full-time jobs as well, and just kind of like put Tell on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so me and Ashley always kind of every few years were like, we should bring this back.
Yeah.
And so it became kind of a blog for a little bit. Then it was like just Instagram posts. During 2020, we had little takeovers so small businesses could post on there about their business so we could all support each other during that time.
Right.
And then I had the idea for a podcast for a little bit, but I just like wasn't quite ready to take the leap on that. And then last year or 2023, 2023, I started
It all
recording.
gets messed up
I know.
with COVID, I know
Yeah.
what you mean.
The time jump is weird. We started recording in 2023. I just kind of reached out to people that I had worked with forever. And why I wanted to start this was because I was photographing all these great businesses and hearing their story.
Right.
And I was like, somebody needs to listen to this. Someone needs to
something's
record
missing,
this.
yeah.
Like, these stories of how people got to where they are so interesting.
Right.
Like, so many people that own a business have had like 20 other jobs prior.
Yeah.
Or just like took this really weird winding route to get to where they are. And I just thought that was so interesting. So that's how Tell Talks came to be.
Well, I listened to a couple episodes, and one of my favorite ones was the story about this woman who has like a muffin bakery, like somewhere in Maine, and she had like gotten her corporate life didn't go how she planned, and then she started making them for like fun and friends, and then people were like, these are really, really good, and then she just kept on like baking different kinds of bread and stuff, and it just became her whole thing, and I was like, whoa.
I know. It's so funny how people can just like fall into these things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stories like that where it's a side gig or whatever, side project just for fun. And then all of a sudden it becomes like this big deal and people get interested and they're like, oh, maybe I could do this on my own and kind of steer my own life in the direction that I want. Or yeah, it's just really fascinating. And I just really enjoy like the differences but also the passion. I think that's why I like it, is like really passionate people. I just find that inspiring.
So underneath all this, right, we're going to peel the first layer of this pizza back, right? Because this is deeply interesting to me, right? And it's like what you're doing is so complementary to what I'm trying to do, right? And I'm so glad that I met you, right? Like I have so many questions. I guess my biggest question for you would be like why local, Jen? Like what drove you to do this in the first place? You know, like
it's a good question.
Just the way you were raised, or did you have a particular experience, or even your friend, right? Like she must have had her own reasons, right? Like, why is this concept of locality so important to you? And it's fundamental behind the entire, so much of what you do.
Right.
Honestly, everything you do, for as near as I can tell, right? Like, what is it? Why?
I think because I'm also a small business owner, I can commiserate with similar people. And there's a lot of grit behind small business owners, just kind of, they don't want to give up.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think there's so much that gets thrown our way, especially right now where there's like the rising costs of things, a weird political climate. Like there's
a lot of unpredictability.
Yeah. And
right?
of course, COVID was a huge wrench in everyone's system.
What's COVID?
And,
I don't even know.
So we all had to pivot and do different things. And I think entrepreneurs are really good at that. And I think it's something in their DNA where, we're not going to give up. We're just like, you know what? This didn't work. Let's see what we can try next.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me. And then I think being from like a smaller area of the country, I feel like we're all very resourceful and we connect really well. And we all have this like through line of like getting through the winter.
Yes.
I don't know. There's just a lot of grit with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is just a big driving force.
Yeah.
And again, just very inspiring to me to just see what people can do with this like interesting climate and smaller scale like areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, my other kind of, complimentary question would be like, what have you learned about New England, right? Like you went to school in Mass, you've lived all over in these different places, like, and you talk to people all over, right? Like,
no one's ever asked me that. It's a good question.
Well, I mean, I have like, again, we share a kind of regional focus in the things we're doing. Like I have my views, but I haven't talked to someone else who, certainly you have a lot more experience than I do learning about it, decades worth. Like, what do you think is unique about New England, And some of it, I mean, like the grit and a lot of that, right? But like, I mean, you're wearing flannel, which I love. Like,
I did that on purpose.
Are you wearing jeans as well?
I have jeans. I've got Blundstones on.
You get this
I'm ready for the weather.
I look like a dandy compared to you, like fake pants.
I'm ready for the farm or wherever.
Exactly, right. The brewery.
Yeah. I think the first thing that comes to mind of what I've learned about New England, or maybe New Englanders, is like hardcore loyalty.
Sure.
We love being loyal to our region, our business. There's kind of this thing where, New Hampshire and Mass, we kind of butt heads a little bit.
Yeah.
But if one of us
don't mass
talks,
up New Hampshire, right? Yeah.
one of us talks to somebody from like New York or California, and somebody talks shit about Boston, we're gonna be like, no,
We'll destroy you. Yeah.
we will defend
How
Boston.
dare you? That's my brother.
Yes.
That's my brother.
So I think loyalty is a big one.
Yeah.
And just like, we all just get the whole winter thing of like, we have to make it through these dreary months somehow.
Right.
And we're going to find ways to do it, whether it's cross country skiing every day or going to your local brewery,
Right.
finding a cozy fireplace spot somewhere. Yeah, I think that connects people a lot.
Well, I think that there's kind of, I hate dividing people into two types, right? But certainly the people who are from New England, right? Or even the people who move here, right? Like there's the people who, who stay, and there's people who leave,
Yeah.
right? And there's a lot of people who they leave and come back, right? Like even, some of
Right.
the stories on your show have featured,
A lot of people go away and come back.
right? Yeah, they call them boomerangers in stay work play, right? Like because
Yeah.
they've studied this phenomenon, right? Because they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we keep talent and human capital, and that sounds like a corporate sad way to say it, but no, but really, how do we keep like people happy and
Yeah.
productive in New Hampshire? And so they've asked them like, why do you leave? Why do you come back? And it's like a deeply interesting question.
Totally.
Did you ever consider that? Like when you were young, where you're like, man, the world's out there. I want to go.
Yes. Yeah.
Being from Bo, even.
Yeah, exactly. I remember in middle school being like, I'm going to go to California. I'm going to get out of this small town. And I did.
Yeah.
I went to San Francisco area and did an internship at a photography studio. Part of the reason was because my uncle lives out there. It was just easy access. And I knew that San Francisco had an incredible food scene. So I was like, all these amazing food photographers
Uncle,
are out
work,
there.
food.
Yeah. Checking off the list. So I did that for about 6 months, and I was like, maybe I could live out here. I don't know. Do I want to take this the long run? But I kind of came back to, I had all these really deep relationships with my friends, my family, and I was like, why would I give that up to only see these people like once a year?
Right.
And so that just didn't feel right to me. There was just also so many people out there. It was just like me feeling like a little fish in a big pond,
Yeah.
which is, there's so much opportunity in that, but I just felt like I have to go back. I felt like New Hampshire was where I was meant to be.
Right.
And so I came back and I just, again, hit the ground running, just did the same thing, basically, just reached out to so many people, tried to find internships, tried to connect with people.
Yeah.
And I guess the difference is the reaction I was met with. Even though I stayed in New England. But when I first reached out to other photographers to assist them in like the Boston area, I was met with a very like closed off response. Like, we don't want you in our studio. You're our competition, even though
Right.
I knew nothing.
Right.
And in California, it was very different. Everyone was very open, very welcoming. So there is that funny difference between New Englanders, West Coasters.
Yeah.
But I know under the layers that New Englanders have this incredible heart. So,
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going. I don't care.
You need to keep at it.
Yeah. And so this is kind of a tangent, but
Tangents are what
Yeah.
we're here for.
the way I run my business and my like ethos, I guess, is I'm an open book. If any younger photographers come to me, I'm always like, hey, I will tell you anything. I don't
Right.
care. I want you to learn something and get something out of an interaction with somebody that has more experience. So
Yeah.
that's how I try to live now.
Yeah.
So it was a great learning experience. But yeah, I kind of went away, took what I learned, came back, brought it here, and I definitely don't regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not like, I think that's amazing, but I'm also not surprised by it, right? Like, that you're paying forward, or rather you're paving a path that like just wasn't there for you in many ways. And it's even, again, to kind of like selfishly bring a little grain of goodness into it, right? Like, I mean, there's all these things that you cover that I think are amazing and are helping like solve hard problems with small businesses and stuff around New England. But even just like the notion of your career path and like that simple tweak of like, oh, actually, I don't think that this kind of suffering is like virtuous, like if I can
Yeah.
save someone younger than me a lot of the, annoyance and struggle that I went through, just trying to be like, hey, I want to learn more about a photographic career,
Right.
you know, like
Like
whatever.
we're all going to struggle no matter
Yeah.
what. Like might as well have a few people that are willing to reach out and lift you up a little bit.
Yeah, and my suspicion, Jen, and you know, you're being humble, but is that has probably already served you very well,
I think
and
so.
that it will continue to serve. Like, I mean, because you
If
know,
anything, it's good karma.
it's well, it is, but it comes back quick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So particularly in like smaller, like social capital, right?
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get tired of saying it. Not a huge world,
Mm-hmm.
you know. New Hampshire, New England, like the degrees of separation are
Right.
very small.
Yeah.
So like, think of all the goodwill over time that you have accumulated from, you know, I don't know, however many, like the 10 or 100, you know, younger professionals who you've come across and just been like, hey, this is what, like, totally open book, right?
Yeah.
And then that's like 100 like true
it just keeps going.
fans, right? It's like you can't predict all the goodwill that will come back
And
to
I
you.
totally remember the people that gave me a chance and
Yeah.
opened up to me, and that just completely launched my career. And that was never a bad thing for them to do. We were never competition. We were never like
Right.
against each other.
It's not. It's a good buddy of mine, and you would like him a lot. You should try and get him on your show. His name's Eric Cacciatore. It's his real name, and
Love it.
he has a restaurant podcast
Amazing.
called Restaurant Unstoppable.
Oh yeah, I've listened to it.
Yeah, that's,
Very good.
It's that guy. He's nuts, but in a great way. I love you, Eric. If you ever listen to this,
Yeah, it's a great podcast.
but you know, he talks about, so like, it's kind of like a cousin of what you're doing, but his niche is like just restaurants, but his purview is like the whole country or the world, right? And he said to me, he's like, look, a lot of restaurants are struggling. They're always struggling. It's a tough business,
Yeah.
right? But particularly in the wake of COVID, he said in the you know, 5 to 10 years that I've been doing this, the ones that survive and the ones that like make it through hard times are not the like super cutthroat. They're not the businesses that view their peers in the community as, you know, a zero-sum competitor.
Right.
They're the ones who are like, hey, you're serving luncheon, I'm serving luncheon. Like, let's have an event together.
Yeah, collaboration.
Let's give discounts. You know, like, and he said those are when they build those relationships, that helps them
Yeah.
survive and thrive in the long term. And I just like, boy, is that true?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And that's a big thing in the, at least New Hampshire Seacoast, that I've noticed, like all these amazing businesses collaborating all the time. It's
Right.
great.
I know. Well, even we were talking a minute ago about like the whole fun inter-community of like, there's Seacoast Stories, which is great podcasts like about around here.
Yeah.
And then there's like all these people. Man, there's so much goodness.
Totally.
Jen, what are some things? So like, you know, you've talked about mentoring, you know, younger people. If you could go back and talk to younger you, right, at the beginning of Tell Talks, even before, well, like, what would you say to her? Would you be like, do it all, do the same thing? Or would you know, what advice would you give her?
Yeah, I definitely don't have any regrets. I think the one thing I'd say to my younger self for advice would be to take more creative risks and to just, you know, not worry so much about what other people are thinking. That's something I'm still working on.
Right.
And yeah, just put yourself out there more.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah.
You know, she's out there. I'm sure some young person will listen to that and appreciate it. Tell me some of your so in the work that you get to do now, like, what are your favorite parts of it? You know, whether it's, you know, photography or the podcasting, like, you know, or what have been some of your favorite experiences, or what are your favorite things, you know, that you get to do now? Like, I'd
So
love
many
to
good
hear.
things.
Yeah,
Firstly, I just get to eat a lot of good food.
you seem like a bit of a foodie.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts of food photography. And I think with both my photography work, the podcast, really anything creative that I'm doing is the connection. I used to run a small business networking group called the Rising Tide Society, and it was all about community over competition.
Yeah.
And so
damn, we're just talking about that.
Yeah, like that was such
I'm
a big
over here
piece.
preaching at you, and you're just like, I actually had a whole. That's
But
awesome.
that's just like such a, I think I say community so much.
Yeah.
Because I think that's such a big piece of what I'm doing, and, you know, creating imagery for businesses around so it can be spread around to their community and used in different ways. That's just really fun for me. I think the experiences of going to all these different businesses has always been really fun. Meeting different people. There's so many cool, creative, talented people that I get to talk to. And that inspires my work and just inspires me to grow as a person. So I think that's a huge part of what I enjoy. I love going to farms.
Yeah.
One of my favorite experiences out of my whole career was going to London for a magazine. That was big. And so
What was the magazine?
it was called By Hand Cereal, and it was basically like a travel log with fiber art
Yeah.
and handmade goods, and also a small business aspect of like the region we were covering. So we spent 10 days in London and went to all these different businesses. The people I was working with did like a whole sewing class. There were knitwear designs. It just had all these really cool aspects. And even though I'd never really worked in the fashion world,
Right.
it still kind of brought in that small business, creative, and like farm piece.
Yeah.
Because the wool comes from sheep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really fun. And I still like doing work like that where it combines travel, small business. If there's food, that's great. Just working with or collaborating with different people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's how I prefer
that
to get
encompasses it all.
pay me in food, please.
Yes.
It is funny. I mean, I'll show you. You must maybe because like you have a whole food. Maybe you get a different kind of thrill when you take pictures of food. But I have a whole folder of pictures on my phone of food that I like that my wife has made me. So she made this the other day.
Ooh, a little yin yang.
Yeah, it's a little
looks good.
bean bowl.
Yum.
I don't know if anyone can see that. But yeah, it was just like two kinds of beans put together like a yin yang symbol, and I don't
It's
know.
very artistic.
Yeah, well just you know what I'm talking about. Like there's something sometimes you're sitting in front of a meal, then it's so beautiful and you know it was like someone worked really hard on it. And the instinct to photograph it, I feel that.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh, I want to fully savor this.
And remember it.
And remember it, right? And then, like, if I'm sad later, I'll just go look at
Yeah.
all my favorite food pictures.
Yeah,
which
there's so many layers to it. It's made by somebody, and in that case, someone you love,
Yeah,
and then presented beautifully. And then you get the experience of eating it and feeling that joy.
Yeah.
So I think that's, something I love about food photography. And I also photograph everything I eat in restaurants or wherever I am too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun to do.
you know what I like about you, Jen, is that there is, and you must encounter people like this, right? Like in the wake of the cultural tsunami that was Eat, Pray, Love, right? Which I love, to be clear, and Under the Tuscan Sun. No, but there is a much shallower version of all this stuff, right? Like I think that there is a whole. Again, I don't like to talk bad about people, but I don't like shallowness, and there is a whole class of I don't know, there's a whole type of person who just
Posts to post.
yeah, they fake all these values that you have, right?
Yeah.
If they're like, oh, I just want to travel and eat fancy food and see the charming community and it's just like an extractive kind of liminal,
Yeah. Would you
very-
post this or no, what is it? Would you still do this activity if you couldn't post it?
Right, exactly. That's exactly
That's what me and
I'm
my
talking
fiance talk about a lot.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like, is this
Is this something you would actually want to do?
Right.
If there was no Instagram?
yeah.
I think it's a good question we should all ask.
Yeah, if there weren't all these people looking at it being like, ooh, how cool, look at the potato.
And validation's great. We all want it.
Right,
But, it's good to have experiences just to enjoy them too.
for sure. Well, I think it's a balance, and let's just
Totally.
say I've met a lot of people who, they have similar interests to you, but I think that it doesn't come from the same place that it comes from for you. It comes from this weird, just they see an opportunity for vanity and for, I don't know, clout and all this stupid stuff, and just but you're so rooted, I don't know, the fact that you're you literally are. You make a lot of your living by you're a photographer, you take pictures of food and people and events and things, which is like a really cool thing. But you're also obsessed with this notion of like New Englanders
Yes.
and the small businesses, you know, all these like deeply authentic
Please
things.
support us.
Right, exactly. Like it's
Yeah.
it's an unusual combination that I think is really unique and that I admire about you.
Thank you.
You mentioned that, you know, you did all these different kinds of art as a kid, you know, and that, podcasting and conversations and photography, like these are just a couple mediums, but you seem like a highly creative person. And by the way, I don't say this for everybody. You're very Da Vinci, like even like the way that your hair looks right now, it's very like Vitruvian.
I like that.
Vitruvian man.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know. I think, you know, like no one ever explained to him that these are all supposed to be separate, you know, that like, you know, math and science and art and anatomy and botany and all these things. So just the way that you approach life feels that way to me, where you're just like, well, what do you mean I can't? I have all these interests. So
Yeah.
share a little of that with us. Like you must have other artistic outlets or interests, right?
Yeah. And, you know, it's cool that you mentioned that, because a lot of entrepreneurs and artists, we kind of get stuck in this box of like, oh, I'm a photographer. That's my identity. I can't stray from that path.
Right.
And I'm here to say that's not true. You can do whatever you want.
Just if you're looking for permission.
Yeah, you can do it. And so what I've been exploring in the last year or two is different aspects of art. What does it mean to be creative? What else can I do for fun? And I think, I don't know if you ever listened to Glennon Doyle's podcast, but she had this amazing episode about fun. And something we forget as adults is we can have fun. We should have fun. We shouldn't just be working all the time. We shouldn't just be tied down to like one thing. And so in this time of Instagram and sharing everything, doing something creative for yourself as an artist is really important. And it should just be for fun. Like just go paint something. No one's ever going to look at it. Think about that. No one will ever see this. What would you do if no one was ever going to see it? Or if there's no risk involved. And so I've been trying to practice that as a way to inform my other work. So I'm doing like painting, embroidery, dyeing things with natural plants. Or, well, plants are all natural, but
Do you ever use beet juice?
I have used beet juice in the past, yes.
How'd that go?
I used it for egg dyeing, and
Yeah.
it worked pretty well. I haven't tried it on like fiber, because I'm not sure how color fast it is, which means like, will it last with like sunlight and washing and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I use like mint from my garden. I use sunflower seeds,
Wow.
a bunch of different things. And I've also been like writing a novel, which nobody really knows about, but it's just kind of like for
Now
me.
they're all going to know.
Yeah, everyone's going to know. It's just for me to do for fun.
Yeah.
And I used to write a ton when I was a kid. I used to bring notebooks with me, binders. I was constantly writing poetry. And then that just kind of dropped off because I was like, oh, photography is my thing.
Right.
I'm just a photographer. And I focused really hard on that and I grinded forever. And now I'm like, okay, like I hit a burnout point. What are the things that I also like to do for fun? And am I allowed to do that? So I'm trying to explore all that. I'm doing the book called The Artist's Way, which is a really great tool to use to bring out your inner child, inner creative, and lean into giving yourself permission to do these things.
Yeah.
And it's been a really great experience. And I'm doing little art nights in town.
Okay.
That might be fun to let people know about. It's
s-
very low key.
I saw one event up in Conway, I think, at the Cheese Louise up there, and it was like a paint night, but it was like paint your partner night.
Oh, yes.
Well,
I've
I
seen
thought
those.
that was extremely funny, and I wanted to go. But wait, so you're organizing like these art nights?
Yes, and they're very low key, low pressure.
Wait,
I wanted
wanna
it to
go.
be
That's
kind
so
of,
cool.
you should come. You don't even have to be an artist. I just wanted it to be a place where people could connect without it being like a networking thing necessarily.
Yeah.
You can definitely network while you're there.
Well, that's the best kinds of
Yeah.
networking, though. You know.
Just show up and bring a coloring book if you want to. And so I'm trying to do it monthly. I've only done a few so far, but so far it's been really great. I just chat with people. Some I know, some I don't know. We just connect and color, or some people have brought, things to make friendship bracelets. Some people do watercolor. Some people were doing, I think, a woman came in and she brought like a print of a map and she colored in where she had been.
Oh, that's
and that was really neat.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can just come in, bring writing, bring music. I post about it on my Instagram for anyone that's interested. We try to do it in Portsmouth, and I'm hoping to continue that because I think it's really nice to have those spaces where we can meet in person and just be chill.
Yeah, there's no
pressure, yeah.
or even a
Low stakes.
strict purpose for us being here, right?
Because it's very therapeutic to just play with some clay or shade in some coloring book.
Yeah. You probably know this quote better than me. I think it was like Picasso or something, but one of those artist types said something like, when I was a kid, I knew how to be an artist, and I've spent my whole life trying to remember how, right?
Yeah, it's very relevant to me
right
now.
Exactly. And it's like, man, how cool. Like, I totally know. It's like the lack of inhibition you have as a child, right? Like you don't, no one, it's like no one tells you you're naked until you know. It's like an innocence of your own awareness.
Exactly.
Right.
I think we're going maybe a little too deep for the end of this, but I was bullied a lot as a kid. And so I feel like I suppressed a lot of what made me. And then now I'm just like digging that out again and trying to bring that back because I just pushed all my creative expression away for so long because I was like, I don't want to be seen or known because that equals someone making fun of me.
Suffering.
So it took a long time and therapy to get here, but now I feel like I'm uncovering the inner child that I used to be, and I'm, just letting things flow a little more, which is nice.
And you're helping other people uncover it, right? And you might not even know.
I know.
That, like,
that's a great connection.
Yeah, you might, like, someone else could be like, whoa, I drew a cube once and I loved it. And then someone grumbled at, and then
how dare you draw that cube?
How dare you draw that cube? And then you could have, sorry, I try not to swear on my show. You could have, cube guy show up to art night. Maybe I'm projecting. And it's just like, and they draw a cube and that's all they do.
Yeah.
They just show up and, they draw a perfect cube and then they do it 1,000 times. And then I don't know, like, and they might not have a space for that, and it matters. I'm very in favor of what you do. Like, the more places, the more spaces that we can get. Like, why isn't everywhere like that all the time?
Yeah,
seriously.
Places where we can all just be who we are and express ourselves freely, and just have fun while we're doing it. And again, no pressure. I don't like pressure. Just come and show up and have fun.
Pressure is to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the requirement.
You better have fun.
I should bring a doodle pad or something to this. You haven't used. I brought you this.
I know.
This
little
thing to
fidget
to
thing.
fiddle. You've
I feel like I've been pretty
resisted it.
comfortable.
This is good. This is what I want. I want to have fidget things available for people. All right, Jen. Would you say that you're an optimistic person?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I think or at least I've always grown up with the notion that there's always something bigger than us and something to look forward to. And, if things are bad right now, there are small steps that you can take to change every day if you don't like what's going on in your life. And I think that's kind of carried me through most things so far. So yeah, I'd say I'm optimistic.
And what does live free or die mean to you?
What a great motto.
I know, right? It's the best one.
I know.
It's not even close.
I think it means to me, I think it goes back to that grit a little bit, the New Englander grit. Like we can live the way we want or we're going to die trying maybe. Yeah, I think freedom to be who you are, do what you want. I think that's a beautiful thing to be as a granite stater.
Yeah. And to have that pride, right?
Yes.
Well, I think it's obvious you bring that attitude and that, creative, curious, rising all tides, community spirit to everything that you do. I'm glad that we're friends in real life.
Yeah, me too.
Which is exciting. I always enjoy seeing you and your partner when
Likewise.
I get the chance. We should do more of that.
Yeah.
But so glad that you got to come on Grant of Goodness. We got to hang out a little bit.
Yeah, me too. This was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, who knows? Who knows what the future will bring?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks.
Hey there, thanks for spending some time with us, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. You can learn more about today's guest and how to get involved with or support their work in the show notes. If you'd like to suggest a guest for the show or have any story tips for our Good News in New Hampshire newsletter, shoot me a message at hello@granitegoodness.com. Music for this episode was provided by the band Sneaky Miles, who hail from Newmarket, New Hampshire. Until next time, I'm the creator and host of Granite Goodness, Andy DeMeo. Thanks for listening.